It all started on a rainy Sunday afternoon. I wasn't looking for anything important. I was just wasting time online. An old local newspaper had uploaded thousands of archived articles from the early 2000s. I enjoyed reading old stories. Forgotten crimes. Unsolved mysteries. Missing people. It was strange how quickly the world forgot them. I clicked on one article after another. Most of them ended the same way. The person was never found. The case was eventually closed. Then I opened an article published 17 years earlier. The headline immediately caught my attention. Missing boy vanishes without a trace. There was a photograph beneath the headline. I almost scrolled past it. Then I looked again. My heart stopped. The boy in the picture looked exactly like me. Not similar. Exactly like me. The same eyes. The same nose. The same small scar above my left eyebrow. I touched my forehead without thinking. The scar was still there. My breathing became heavier. I looked at the date. The article had been published 17 years ago. I was 30 years old. That made no sense. I read the article. The missing child's name was not mine. It was Ethan Brooks. 7 years old. Last seen leaving his elementary school. Never found. Police believed he had been kidnapped. The investigation lasted 6 years before the case went cold. I stared at the photograph again. It wasn't just the face. He was wearing the exact same blue jacket I remembered from one of my childhood photos. I stood up and walked to the hallway. There was an old family album inside a cabinet. I hadn't opened it in years. My hands were shaking as I searched through the pages. Birthday parties. Christmas mornings. School pictures. Then I found it. A photograph of me when I was around 7 years old. I placed it beside the article on my laptop screen. The jacket was identical. The haircut was identical. Even the missing front tooth matched perfectly. I kept telling myself it had to be a coincidence. It had to be. Then I noticed something else. The article listed the missing boy's birthday. March 18th. That was my birthday. I read it again. March 18th. The room suddenly felt colder. For 30 years I had believed I knew exactly who I was. Now a newspaper was telling me someone else had my face. My birthday. My childhood. I grabbed my phone and called my mother. She answered on the second ring. Hi, sweetheart. Everything okay? I tried to sound normal. Mom. Can I ask you something? Of course. Was I ever adopted? There was silence. Not 1 second. Almost 10. When she finally spoke. Her voice sounded completely different. Where did you hear that? I didn't answer her question. Instead, I asked it again. Mom. Was I adopted? Another long silence. Then she laughed. Not because something was funny. Because she was nervous. Where is this coming from? I found something online. What did you find? A missing persons report. The line went completely silent. For a moment, I thought the call had disconnected. Then I heard her breathing. Slow. Uneven. She finally spoke. Come home. We need to talk. I hadn't heard fear in my mother's voice since I was a child. Not once. I'll be there in 20 minutes. She didn't say goodbye. She simply ended the call. The drive felt longer than usual. I kept replaying the conversation in my head. She never answered my question. Not once. When I arrived, the front door was already open. My mother was sitting alone at the kitchen table. There was a cardboard box in front of her. She looked exhausted. As if she had aged 10 years in a single afternoon. I sat across from her. Neither of us spoke. Finally, she pushed the box toward me. Open it. Inside were old photographs. Hospital papers. Birth records. A tiny blue baby blanket. Everything looked normal. Until I noticed one document. My birth certificate. Or at least I thought it was. The paper looked newer than everything else. The ink was brighter. The edges were too clean. I looked at my mother. This isn't the original, is it? She closed her eyes. No. Where is the original? She didn't answer. Instead, she asked me something. What exactly did you see online? I turned my phone around and showed her the article. The moment she saw the photograph, all the color disappeared from her face. She whispered one word. No. A tear rolled down her cheek. She covered her mouth with both hands. Mom! Who is this boy? She kept staring at the picture. Finally, she looked at me. Then she said the one sentence I never expected to hear. I prayed you would never find him. My heart started pounding. Find him? What do you mean? That's when she realized what she had said. She immediately shook her head. Forget it. I didn't mean that. Yes, you did. Who is he? She stood up so quickly that her chair fell onto the floor. You need to leave. What? Leave. Right now. Go home. Pretend this conversation never happened. Mom. Tell me the truth. She walked toward the living room window. Carefully pulled the curtain aside. Looked outside. Then stepped back so fast it startled me. They're here. I frowned. Who? She didn't answer. She grabbed my arm. Her hands were shaking. Listen to me. If anyone asks about that article, you never saw it. If anyone says the name Ethan Brooks, you don't know who that is. Do you understand? Before I could answer, someone knocked on the front door. 3 slow knocks. My mother immediately started crying. She whispered. They found you, neither of us moved. The knocking came again. 3 slow knocks. Exactly the same. My mother grabbed my wrist so tightly it hurt. Don't answer it. I wasn't planning to. Who is it? She slowly shook her head. I don't know anymore. The word sent a chill through my body. How could she not know? She had acted like she expected this. Then she whispered. Take the box. Go through the back door. Run. What about you? It'll be fine. No. I'm not leaving you here. She looked directly into my eyes. For the first time since I had arrived, she sounded like my mother again. Daniel. Listen to me. Everything I've ever done was to protect you. Don't make it meaningless. The knocking stopped. The silence was worse. Then a man's voice came from outside. Mrs. Carter. We only want to talk. My mother closed her eyes. She knew that voice. I could see it on her face. She whispered. It's him. Who? She didn't answer. Instead, she pushed the cardboard box into my hands. Go. Now. I opened the back door. Before stepping outside, I looked back one last time. She was standing in the middle of the kitchen, staring at the front door. I ran. I didn't stop until I reached my car. As I started the engine, I saw 2 black SUVs pull into my mother's driveway. 3 men stepped out, all wearing dark suits. None of them looked like police officers. I wanted to drive back. I wanted to help her. Then my phone rang. It was my mother. I answered immediately. Mom. Her voice was barely a whisper. Don't come back. Promise me. I'm calling the police. No. You can't trust them. Not yet. Mom, who are these people? She took a deep breath. They've been looking for you since you were 7 years old. Before I could ask another question, I heard a loud crash. Someone had kicked in the front door. Men started shouting. My mother screamed. The line went dead. I drove back toward the house without thinking. When I arrived less than 4 minutes later, the street was completely empty. No SUVs. No men. No neighbors. Nothing. The front door was hanging open. I ran inside. The kitchen was destroyed. Broken dishes covered the floor. The table had been flipped over. The cardboard box I had left behind was gone. So was my mother. The only thing left in the house was a single photograph lying on the floor. I picked it up. It was the same missing child from the newspaper. Ethan Brooks. Someone had written a sentence across the back with a black marker. You were never supposed to remember. I read the sentence over and over. You were never supposed to remember. Remember what? I had never seen Ethan Brooks before today. Or at least that's what I believed. I searched every room in the house. My mother was gone. Her purse was still on the kitchen counter. Her car was still in the driveway. She hadn't left on her own. Someone had taken her. I called the police. They arrived 15 minutes later. 2 officers searched the house. They took photographs. Asked questions. One of them picked up the photograph of Ethan. Where did you get this? It was on the kitchen floor. He looked at his partner for a second. Then quietly placed it into an evidence bag. Do you know this boy? No. Should I? The officer didn't answer. Instead, he asked another question. Have you ever heard the name Ethan Brooks before today? No. He wrote something in his notebook. Then thanked me for my time. That was it. No urgency. No concern. My mother had disappeared less than an hour ago. Yet they acted as if it were just another missing person report. The next morning I returned to my apartment. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. All I could think about was that newspaper article. I opened it again. This time I noticed something I had missed before. At the bottom of the page was a phone number. A hotline created for anyone with information about Ethan Brooks. Without thinking, I dialed it. The number was still active. A woman answered. Brooks Foundation. How may I help you? I hesitated. Then I said, I'm calling about Ethan Brooks. The woman became very quiet. May I ask your name? Daniel Carter. Another silence. Then I heard typing. Lots of typing. Finally she spoke again. Mr. Carter. Could you please stay on the line? Someone would like to speak with you. A minute passed. Then a man's voice came on. Mr. Carter. My name is Richard Brooks. I'm Ethan's father. My throat tightened. I didn't know what to say. He continued. Someone told me a man matching my son's description had been seen. Is that you? I looked at my reflection in the apartment window. For the first time in my life. I didn't know who I was looking at. I quietly answered. I think it might be. The man didn't speak for several seconds. Then I heard him crying. 17 years. 17 years I've waited for this call. My eyes filled with tears. I wanted answers. Instead, I asked one question. If Ethan is your son, then who am I? The man whispered. That's exactly what I've been trying to find out. Then he said something that made every hair on my body stand up. Daniel. I don't think you're Ethan. I think someone wanted you to believe you are. And if that's true, then the real Ethan is still missing. I couldn't breathe. The room felt smaller with every second. If I wasn't Ethan, then why did I look exactly like him? Richard spoke again. There's something I never told the police. On the day Ethan disappeared, he wasn't alone. Someone else was with him. Another little boy. About the same age. The police never found out who he was. I slowly sat down. My hands were shaking. What happened to him? We don't know. Both boys disappeared. But only one became a missing person. I frowned. What do you mean? Richard sighed. Because nobody ever reported the second child missing. Nobody even knew who he was. A strange feeling settled over me. I opened the cardboard box my mother had given me. Most of the papers meant nothing. Medical records. School reports. Old family photographs. Then I noticed an envelope hidden beneath the baby blanket. Across the front my mother had written, "Only open this if Richard tells you the truth." My heart started racing. I opened it. Inside was a handwritten letter. Daniel, if you're reading this, then Richard finally told you about the second boy. That second boy was you. I stopped reading. Everything around me disappeared. The letter continued. You were never Ethan Brooks. You were found beside him the day both of you vanished. Neither of you remembered your names. Neither of you knew where you came from. The police believed Ethan was the only victim because Richard identified him immediately. Nobody claimed you. Nobody was even looking for you. The authorities wanted to place you into foster care. I couldn't let that happen. So I lied. I told them you were my son. I forged documents. I changed our lives forever. Tears rolled down my face. The woman I had called Mom had never kidnapped me. She had saved me. But one question still remained. Who was I? I picked up the phone. Richard was still waiting. I read the letter to him. When I finished, he didn't sound surprised. I know. Your mother told me years ago. You knew. Yes. Then why didn't you tell me? Because she begged me not to. She believed whoever took both of you might come back if the truth ever came out. Before I could answer, someone knocked on my apartment door. 3 slow knocks. Exactly 3. My blood turned cold. Then a familiar voice came from the hallway. Daniel. It's your mother. Don't open the door. I froze. Because my mother had disappeared 2 days earlier. Then my phone made a soft notification sound. A new text message. It was from my mother's phone. The message contained only 4 words. That's not me.